Welcome to FaceTime with Nicole Jocleen. And today, as a guest, I have Brandy Mays of A Shot of Brandy podcast.
What's good with you, Joc?
What's up, Mays?
What's good with you, man? I appreciate the opportunity, man.
You know what? I've been wanting to do this interview for a long time.
Okay. Yeah, but we already did it. Like, man, that's what people don't understand. Like, you've been trying to document a culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've been documenting the music part, and your documentary never came out. You know what I'm saying? But you did do the YouTube clips, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. This is what happened. This is what he's talking about.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So we was working on a documentary called Every Day a Rapper is Born about Oklahoma City rap artists. But at the time, I couldn't get all the footage together, edited to be one documentary. Now I know how to edit. Back then I didn't. So instead of just letting it go to waste, I was like, I'm gonna upload everybody's interview piece by piece and throw it on YouTube under the name. So you can go on YouTube right now. Every Day a Rapper is Born, and you can see the interview I did with Mays with his opinion about, the Oklahoma City hip hop scene.
And that was early on, right?
Yeah. It's a different scene now.
It's a way different scene, right? You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate you just seeing that, because Jay wasn't even with you, right? Like, you was doing it by yourself.
He wasn't with me, because I think Jay may have been working on the Thomas documentary at that time. Yeah,
because I remember you hitting the button and then us recording and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. But you were seeing it though. Like, you were seeing that it's about to come, and it's a way different scene, like you said. Yeah.
It is. So like with you, one thing I want to say about you is you've been documenting the entertainment scene, the black business scene for a couple of years now, and like the future generations are gonna be so appreciative of the information. Like, when I look at our generation, there's nothing to reference.
Okay, right.
Like, there's nothing to say like, like, I wonder how Bobo's Chicken got started.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? I wonder how Florence's got started. I wonder how, Perry Publishing was started. There's nothing for us to go back and get that information. So you're providing our generation and next generations with that. They can do book reports based off the interviews that you've done.
Damn, man, I never really looked at it, so I appreciate that. That's big. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Shit, man, it's going on 5 years, man, in July. So in the next couple of days, you know what I'm saying? It's just, man, like, we needed it at the time. You know what I'm saying, man? It was very much needed, because at the time, people wasn't really proud to be from OKC as they are now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like people are really coming into their own and being proud of what we got and just making the best of what we got and representing Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I'm glad I did at the time. I was already listening to podcasts, and I said that Oklahoma needs their own podcast documenting what these people are doing. You know what I'm saying?
So what podcast were you listening to, or what podcaster were you listening to that made you say, I can do that and I'm gonna do that?
Tech Stone, man. I gotta give it up to Tech Stone. Free Tech Stone, he made a mistake. But at that time, man, I studied Tech Stone for 2 years, but I was following him on Twitter already. You know what I'm saying? And then he jumped into the podcast and he dropped the link, and it was just good. You know what I mean? And then the New York City got behind him and supported him. Like, I just was listening to a classic, him and Beanie Siegel, and it was just, it's just good. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I want to do that. He did it. He was just an average hood nigga that just got behind the mic and just be himself. So that's what I said, man, we need that.
And I see the 200 in the background, but how many episodes have you done?
Man, it's going on 225. Yeah.
225.
Yeah, man. So 225 over 5 years. So that's damn near no weeks off. But I did take weeks off. But it was just community work to me. You know what I'm saying, man? It was just God work to me, because I never got a dime off of it. You know what I'm saying? But I never came in it wanting money. I just wanted us to be, you know what I'm saying, have something to know, like, okay, there's people in the city that's actually doing something, you know?
So When you first started, did you think you would get to 225 episodes?
Nah, I didn't, because I stutter. So with me stuttering, that brings an insecurity on the mics too, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't think I'd get to 200, man. I didn't think I'd get to 100. But shit, once I started, man, I seen how much I liked it and was taking a liking to it. So therefore, man, it was like, okay, I was supposed to do it,
And I know, like, me personally, I've been on about 3 times. So, like, when I think about the interviews that I did, like, some of that stuff would have never been documented had I not sat down with you.
Right.
So, like, that's how vital the podcast is.
Yeah. Well, the first time you came on, you know what I'm saying, I was just proud of your work. I was proud of your writing skills and that you already was writing books. And it was like, man, we already got somebody that's writing books and stuff. Now, there's people writing books a lot now, you know what I'm saying? But back then, there was nobody writing books of their own, you know what I'm saying? And I thought that was really dope. And I always tried to bring like a black woman on the show just to showcase her skills. Don't come off, as a Kevin Samuels type, but always just big it up, saying that there is women here that are bosses out here. Sure.
So, like, when you think back to, like, those first 5 episodes, information you feel like you were lacking back then? Or do you feel like it was just
the first 5 just started off crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's just with JB and Chris McCain. So, as I look back, man, I wouldn't have did it as... I wouldn't have did the picture. You know what I'm saying? Because I ended up, man, losing a friend, and I wouldn't want nobody trying to tell me to go back to something that I don't want to. You know what I'm saying? So now that I look back at as a mature 5 years later, man, I wouldn't have did the JB and Chris McCain picture, and then I wouldn't have responded. Those first 100 episodes, I responded to people. I feel like I had to protect the podcast. I feel like I had to protect the brand. So I emotionally reacted. You know what I'm saying? And when I look back, like, I shouldn't have did that because that's still on wax. I'm not gonna take it down, but I've lost a lot of people from the podcast. Just speaking my mind, and I would have did it different because I really didn't know the impact of the podcast when I was doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's not cool and it's still on wax. But that's how I felt too, though. You know what I'm saying? But I just wouldn't have did it as vulgar as I did, And
I think Oklahoma City probably wasn't ready for it. Because, we have a lot of entertainment, but we don't have anything that's critical of us as entertainers. We don't have anything that, like, if we put out a film, there's nothing that says that was good, that was bad. There's nothing out there like that. So probably with your first 100 episodes, it was probably like, whoa,
Right. Exactly. It was like we just haven't had nobody like judge us and then hit the play button. You know what I'm saying? But we need that though, because that's part of media. Like, if you want to be a big time star or whatever you want to be, however you want to go, once you put your art out there, people are going to judge you. You know what I'm saying? And it's up for the people to judge it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not yours. Like, once you put it out, it's no longer yours. It's ours. So we're going to judge it. You know what I'm saying? And I just wanted those two at the time, you know what I'm saying? Because they were 1 and 2 at the time, you know what I'm saying? And I wanted them to make up, but I went by it the wrong way,
Yeah. So what if, like, someone is like, you know what, I kind of want to do something, like, have a similar voice in the city. How would you tell them to do that without maybe rubbing people too wrong?
I don't think nobody else can, like, rub nobody wrong, because, like, when I first started, I had to tell people what a podcast was because the city didn't know what a podcast was. So it's like, okay, so you want me to come in and I'm just gonna talk, and we're just gonna talk. I was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So if somebody else was to come out, they wouldn't respond to it like they did as me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because at the time it was like, I was always a super fan of the locals. I was always showing support, so that's what I was doing. I was just critiquing basically. You know what I'm saying? And now they're ready to be critiqued.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now they wouldn't even care because they wouldn't even respond. Like JB wouldn't respond to a new podcaster talking about him. You know what I'm saying? Because he's ready for that critique. Because I mean, they're writing about him in the newspaper, and he's ready for that now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Chris McGain, he's the guy, so he's not even worried about the peasants on the ground now. You know what I'm saying? Because he has evolved into that. You know what I'm saying? But at the time, everybody was fighting at that time. You know what I'm saying? To get that #1 spot of where they are now.
Right. And that's interesting because it's almost like you ushered in that readiness of people realizing, oh, okay, like I can handle this.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Because we've never had it, but if you was to go to LA,
it would be every 5 minutes.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Because you're putting down art and you're saying that you're an artist.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, not everybody's ready. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody got cameras. Not everybody got an interview a week. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so much for the artist now, and that's what we wanted. That's what you wanted. That's what the fans wanted. We wanted to see the artist blossom and represent us. Now we have that. You know what I'm saying?
And one thing I noticed, even like when you would have, your episodes where you would just kind of like talk about what was going on with you, and even when I think about the short film you did, you've always been open about what you thought about yourself and what you had going on with yourself.
Right.
When like the short film, I remember like, I think you were talking about like relationships.
Yeah.
Like, I remember like thinking like he's bold for being like so open and, not caring about what other people may think to even talk about that.
Right. Well, I mean, I always been like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always like, when I'm in a relationship, it's like at that time I was loving way too hard. You know what I'm saying? So those relationships that I lost meant something in my life. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I talked about it. And it's entertainment, and it's for my exes to make sure they see too. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I would say it, the names, so then the friends can go back and tell them. But I told them that was coming and their name was in it. You know what I'm saying? They'll say they'll look at it or whatever. But the solo episodes is the ones, that, I just let everything off at that time, from whatever the last solo was to the next solo. I'm really just giving the time. And man, that's when I lose people, because I talk about it and they're not ready for it to be talked about. They don't want it to be talked about. They don't want to be a part of it, you know what I'm saying? But it's my life, so I'm talking about my life, So on the solos, it's whatever I'm going to. I really don't care, but I should care, but I don't though, because that's what I'm going through and that's my experience. Like, you can't tell a person not to talk about their experience or what they're going through, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just open with it.
And that could be, like when people say like, I'm built for this, you feeling like, you don't mind being open, you don't really feel a way about it. Could be a reason why you're doing this and, other people may not be.
Well, right, because you gotta understand, my first episode was made out the gate. So that first episode was me by myself telling what the podcast was gonna be. Then the second was the interview. So I've always came in the gate saying, okay, this is who I'm gonna be. This is who I am. Either you're gonna push play or you're just gonna keep scrolling. You know what I'm saying? But this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get raw, real talk from a guy that's in the same area as you. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened. And if you go from 1 to 100, I lost everybody. I lost all my friends. I lost my relationship. I just lost everybody. And I was homeless too. because I was working on planes and I came back. But from there to there, I mean, I've grown tremendously as a man, you know what I'm saying? And the podcast has helped me so much to grow as a person. And that's why I can never worry about money when I'm growing mentally.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Now, I've heard you mention, like, just while listening to your podcast, you've mentioned Joe Budden, Kevin Samuels. Like, has their style of podcasting influenced your style at all?
Oh, yeah, because I'm a podcast head. Like, all I listen to is podcasts. I got YouTube Premium, so I don't have to watch the video. I can just close the phone and listen to the video. You know what I'm saying? So, Joe Budden influenced me. Tag Stone, man, the Podfather, Elliott Wilson. His show really influenced the interview style. You know what I'm saying? Because Rap Radar podcast was two people and they were interviewing the artists and going back with some in-depth stories. Good ass stories, you know what I'm saying? So Elliott Wilson, he's just a GOAT, you know what I'm saying? But he really influenced me at that time, and I was just, man, I'm always watching podcasts. Like, I don't even listen to music that much. I'm just audio, you know, because that's, like, the podcast came on the iPhone app, you know what I'm saying? Like, automatically, but we just came into it like 2010, but it's been on there,
Right.
You know?
So, what about Kevin Samuels? Because I think he's Oklahoma City's own.
Right. Kevin Samuels was a big influence, you know, because I was already in the space, the Black Manosphere space, before Kevin Samuels even blew up. He was in the Black Manosphere space, so he would be on panels just talking like me or you talking. He blew up because he had his, he tried like 3 other shows that wasn't taking off, and we were seeing it.
Right.
And then I came on his show, and he, and I showed him my studio because he did a business show with Ramil. And I came on his show, he critiqued the studio, he talked to me like he talked to the women. You know, he was like, man, you don't even have an LLC, and you don't have this, you don't have that, you're not serious. And that's when I started the dispensary and showed how serious I was. But Kevin Samuels, man, he made himself, you know what I'm saying? And he put out what he wanted to do. He's from the East Side. He's really from the East Side. He just blew up. You know, he went viral and he was ready. Once he went viral, he was already ready because he's been working on that for 6 years already for that moment. And he blew up late in his life. You know what I'm saying? He was already in his late 40s going on 50. And then around being to 52, he blew up. You know what I'm saying? So he's a big influence, just seeing that it's possible to blow up like that if you put the work in. Like, nobody was working really as hard as him in the Black Manosphere. You know what I'm saying? And he from OKC, so it was good to rep that. You know what I'm saying? To see that, million followers on YouTube, that's hard to do. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because I think, like, living here, it's hard when you're trying to do something and you haven't seen anybody from here do it before you.
Right.
So, like, with the podcast, you're actually able to see somebody do it on that type of level to see it can be done, and we do have it in us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, just y'all as directors and writers and just knowing y'all work. Yeah, like, it's possible. All you have to do is put the work in, just like y'all was already ready when it was time to do the documentaries because y'all was already putting the work in with the series, you know what I'm saying, with the YouTube series. So when it was time to really do those documentaries like y'all doing now, y'all was already ready because y'all putting the work in. It's like, you have to study the craft and put the work in to say that you're this and that.
Right. So you did a short film. You did B Mays TV. Do you think you'll go back to film in that type of way?
Well, film is expensive now. You know what I'm saying? It's really expensive. Like, at that time, my cousin was coming. I knew my cousin was gonna take off. I knew that he was really good because he was studying that shit. Like, he was obsessive with it. I was like, okay, he gonna take off, you know? So I got him at the right time, at a good price. Now, that film, it cost me like $5,000. You know what I'm saying? Right now, that film would probably cost me $20,000 to do, just from the cameras, his time, because we worked a whole year for that damn film. You know what I'm saying? His time now is so valuable. I can't get that time like that. You know what I'm saying? So it was just at the right time, man. If I had backing, I'm creative enough to do a film to like, I really want to do a short film of like an OKC character. You know what I'm saying? That people see the stores and see their favorite people, but I ain't got the money for that right now. You know what I'm saying? Like when you a creator, you know what you want to do, but shit, man, that shit costs, man. It's expensive to be a creator, really. Like, to get your vision out how you want to get it out, that shit is hard.
And like, as expensive as it is, like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, I know money was spent. Do you ever be like frustrated and be like, you know what, y'all can have this?
You know, sometimes I do, but nobody asked me to do it. Nobody came and said, hey, I want you to do the podcast. I mean, I signed up for it. I signed up for the work. I put the pressure on me by being once a week. Now I've calmed down, it's bi-weekly, you know what I'm saying? But that once a week, like, now that I look back over the years, now that I'm finally settling down and looking back over the years, I mean, shit, I spent half of my 30s podcasting. You know what I'm saying? I'm 35 going on 36 now. Now that I look back, it's like, damn, I was just focused on podcasting, man. I was just, okay, this is done. What's the next episode? Because I put that pressure on myself to come weekly. That shit is a lot of pressure, a lot of work, a lot of editing. You know what I'm saying? And nobody asked me to do it, so I can't get mad. And I know the market, man. You know, if I was in LA with 200 podcasts, I'll be signed. You know, if I was in New York with 200 podcasts showing how hard I work, I already did the Brooklyn Bridge and all that other shit, they'll say, okay, he's ready. He's a good investment because he's gonna work. He's gonna put the work in, you know. But I know what market I am. It's 50 states. I'm at the last 45 to 50 states as far as marketing wise and getting, you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, man.
So with that, because that's, you know, that's for like all of us, what do you think is even keeping Oklahoma going creatively when the odds are so stacked against us as far as making money doing what we're trying to do?
Just the youngest coming in the game and just hungry. You know, like, the young artists are really hungry. They not making no excuses. They recording on their phones. It's sounding crispy clear still. So that's what keep us going, you know what I'm saying? Because we still want to create, and we don't want to give it up right now, you know what I'm saying? Because we don't know what can happen, you know? There could be funding that come in for the entertainment, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just never know what can happen. So we always just keep on believing, just keep on creating shit regardless, man. Because that's what we like to do regardless. So you shouldn't not create just because you feel like your time is coming to an end. Like, so what? Just still create, put it out. If they take a liking to it, they do. If they don't, they don't. You know? You can't control that.
Right. So, like, when you're interviewing people, have you had any moments where, like, they said something that changed something in your life?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I said, the podcast has changed my life. You know, I wouldn't have a dispensary if it wasn't for the podcast, you know, because when I'm interviewing the entrepreneurs, they're telling me all they did was just put the work in and sacrifice their time.
Right.
And I'm looking at it like, man, they put the work in, they sacrificed their time, and they just focused on what they need to get to what they wanted. You know, so I'm like, okay, I need to focus on making a way for myself. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, all the time you get little jewels. And plus, like, once I go back editing, I pick up stuff. It's just, you know, everybody has a different story. Like, I don't have a favorite podcast because the story is so different from the next person come up. You know what I'm saying? And they opportunity that they got. But you have to get like, okay, what did they do? Okay, they sacrificed their time. to like really go for what they wanted. You know what I mean? They wasn't playing around. They studied. I've got books that people have said read on the podcast. I went back, picked them up. A lot of game in there that I never would have known if they didn't come on the podcast. Like, there's so many brilliant minds in the city, but they don't have a platform saying that every day. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like when they come out, like, damn, dude, you really are smart. Like, you really did go for yours, dude. Like, you really did do that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, man, wow.
So tell me about the Lit Factory. Like, how did that come about? I know you said you were listening to the podcast, like, or doing the interviews, but.
Okay, well, DeMarco part 2, he was just saying how he just sacrificed it all, and then he went for it all, and then my partner heard it, and then he was like, man, it's time, and we was getting those stimulus checks and all that shit, so we had some money to invest, and then, man, we just went for it, you know? We started it, basically. We went and did the first step, and that's all you need to take is the first step, and then you'll figure out, like, man, we was going broke trying to open this shit because we was working, we still had to pay that rent, but the application process was so long, man. You know, we had to pay the house rent and that store rent because we wasn't making no money, so we was going broke, but we were still believing, though. And that's what it was. Like, we just kept believing, and shit, man, it opened up, but again, if he didn't hear that episode, he wouldn't have been so motivated to just don't make no excuses. Like DeMarco didn't make no excuses with that game and shit, and that shit is on T-Pain because he didn't make no excuses. You know what I'm saying? He went for his and he created. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we gotta. That's what I tried to put out there. Like, man, it's creators out here. Like, it's great creators. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a great writer. Like, when I call you the GOAT, I ain't playing with that shit. You know what I'm saying? And there's great writers after you. There's writers on the Source, on the Source magazine from Oklahoma City. You know what I'm saying? So there's all type of writers and shit, but we'll never know because, like, we focus on just Facebook, basically.
Right. And there's nothing to tell us.
Right.
You know, what people are doing.
Right.
So how are you juggling it all now with the podcast and the Lit Factory?
No, just whenever the guests can come in, you know, because it's all about the guest time. You know, it's about when they can come in because these are busy people. You know, these are people who think highly of themselves, so they're not just gonna always have the time, you know what I'm saying? And then you gotta pencil them in. So I've calmed down. I don't put pressure on myself. If I can put one out, I can, but man, I gotta focus on what I need to do too, though. You know what I'm saying? I can't be editing all day and not focusing on my mental too. Right. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to put it out for the people, which I did, and I hope they appreciate the work that I put in. But yeah, I'm not putting that pressure on myself no more because it's just too much, you know.
Is there a guest or a group of guests that you still want to interview?
Oh yeah, man. There's all type of people, you know. There's DJ Wayne in this thing, you know, needs to come on. He was supposed to come on, didn't come. We made up, we talked. He still hasn't come on. JB needs to come back on. We talked. Dez Doe needs to come on. I apologize to him, talk to him. Like, there's people, there's creators that, you know, need to tell their story on how they started. Like, we need to know how Dez started that story. You know what I'm saying? We need to know what he was thinking for that story because, you know, that story's becoming a culture imprint. You know, I got Chopped. I got the season story on how the season started. You know what I'm saying? So I just want the creators that haven't came on to just come on, man, and just, you know, and get a side of what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's, I mean, like, the city's looking good. Right. You know, the city's looking real good, and this is what we always wanted. You know?
Right. That's true. And I mean, I know, your history of what you've been doing has been probably different from what everybody else is experienced out here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so necessary at the same time. Like when I think back, I feel like every part of it was so necessary, and I feel like it's going to be even more necessary down the line. So I mean, I personally want to thank you for doing it. Giving you your flowers while you here, because it's monumental.
Well, yeah, but you're a creator, so you know
Right,
the work that
right.
I put in. You know what I'm saying? Like you know the nights I put in, so that's why you would say that. And I really do appreciate that coming from you. You know what I'm saying? Because the normal person don't care about the work that we put in because they're not supposed to care, because they're not doing that. They're not interested in doing that. They're in their own world. Like people have their own lives. They got kids. They got their own problems. They got their own bills. So we can't be so arrogant to think that people are running to our stuff and listening. You know what I'm saying? But we do put it out there for them if they want to, right?
Right.
So yeah, man, it's just creating without an expectation from the people, because OKC will let you down if you expect something from them.
That's true.
What I'm saying? They'll let you down.
Put that on the t-shirt. That's true.
Yeah.
So what's the future for the podcast?
Man, just more stories. Try to get it out there more. I don't know if I want to start bringing white people on to tell their story, because I kept it all black up until this point, which is good, which is what we need, but do I want to grow the podcast? Do I want for it to grow legs to get a sponsorship? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to sell the show out for money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Do I want to go solo and just critique shit the whole game? I don't know. Do I want to go solo and just do a show like a Joe Budden and just do the latest topics? You know what I'm saying? I don't know, because I never said it's an interview podcast. I just interviewed people. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what category, because it's a shot of brandy, so that's a shot of whatever I want to do at the time. That's how I feel. So I don't know what the show. Hopefully my new soundboard revives me so I can see where the show can go. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want it to get boring. There's new shows coming every day now. You know what I'm saying? There's a new wave of a generation that don't even know brandy. They know they podcasters of their generation. Right. You know what I'm saying? So.
Because I think it'll be good, like, if you bring in other people too, like other maybe people that you see out there that's like, okay, I think they can do what I'm doing, but it's under your umbrella, like under your name. So like it can be a girl up here interviewing people, a guy, like just people under you, giving them a chance to, do it without having to put up the money and do everything yet. Doing it as a person that's a part of a Shot of Brandy podcast team.
Right.
And then it could be like, okay, if I'm actually going to be interviewed by Brandy, then this is, I should be honored, because really it's other people that, is doing the interviews.
Right. And yeah. And that's the thing, like, but that's why I got the studio, and I'm trying to save up so we can move to a storefront and people can start their own show. Because I want, like, man, there's people with like great personalities that they don't even know that they'll be a great podcaster. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just from their outlook on stuff, their voice. There's great voices that don't even they need to start their own show. You know what I'm saying? And then they got the Facebook shows and stuff like that. So, man, there is media out here now. There's all type of media. You got Mark's live show. That's, that gets 300 people daily. So that right there is a big podcast in the city. A podcast is just an audio file. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. Recorded audio file. So it could be a video podcast or an audio podcast, but it's just recorded audio.
Okay. Well, do you have anything else you want to share?
Oh man, no man, I'm just honored to be on the show. You know what I'm saying? Because I watched the Chris McCain,
Oh yeah.
man on the East. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, you know the history of this rap shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's always good to look at your show and see the question that you're gonna ask because you know the history of it. You know what I'm saying? And you believed in the artist early on. You know what I'm saying? And you still are believing and still supporting them. Just like you take a grant. Grant can hit you at any time and you're gonna support them. You know, and
Right.
that's big. You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody has that support where they're gonna say, okay, man, I believe in in what you believe in, and I'm gonna help you succeed. You know what I'm saying? Without an expectation. I don't know how y'all work the money out or anything. You know what I'm saying? But that's just big just to have that shit support. You know what I'm saying? So like when you say a team, I've thought about a team, but if they don't work as hard as me, then it's like, man,
It'll be aggravating.
I'm gonna be aggravated. I'm gonna be irky. Like to mess with me, like you gotta come with your greatness. Like you can't come half-ass with me because I'm not gonna half-ass you. You know what I'm saying? So I want you to come with your full greatness. And you know, just like I said, like people got their own lives. Like they can have their kid can be sick. I have no kids, so I'm not in that mindset where if a kid gets sick or anything, then I have to go to the kid. You know, I'll get real irky if you have to like cancel on the show that we got a guest coming in, we expect this and all this, and then it has to stop, or you know, might have a husband or something. Just got their own life, so not everybody is focused on a podcast. I had the opportunity to do it just because of the lifestyle, but if I had to fend for kids and a wife and a family, I wouldn't have time to do a podcast every week and to edit the podcast and drop it and do it. So that's why it was placed on me to do it at the time. You know what I'm saying? Because I had the opportunity to do it, and I just did it basically. You know what I'm saying? I really couldn't believe that I really stepped out and just did it. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're in it, you don't look at it like that.
Right.
Because you're in it. Now that I'm looking back, it's like, damn, man, 100 episodes. I did a season in Texas. That was probably one of the toughest times in my life because I was working on planes and getting cut. But I was still traveling, man, an hour away because in Texas, all that shit is so spread out. I knew people in Texas. I was like, man, I'm still putting pressure on myself to drop a podcast in Texas when I'm flat broke and I'm traveling with all the gas and everything for free. You know, so that's why I got rewarded with the Lit Factory, with the studio, with the table and shit like that, because God seen how man, what's the word? Just
like the perseverance, like
perseverance over everything. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about it, and that's how I look at it. So I can say, okay, I'm deserving.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's how I tell myself I'm deserving by saying the work I put in without expecting no money, no cash app or anything. I did that for the community, and however they take it, they take it.
Right.
Yeah, so I appreciate you, Jock. Keep on creating. Keep doing whatever you want to do to get your art out there. You know what I'm saying? Because we appreciate it. I feel like y'all finally getting y'all flowers of y'all work that y'all putting in. You know what I'm saying? Like all the documentaries, the series. Y'all got more documentaries coming, documenting the real black culture of what we are. You know what I'm saying? Like it's time to be proud of Oklahoma. We got the Fire Little Africa series. You know what I'm saying? It's just, we're finally waking up. Like when I made those shirts, Make Oklahoma Black Again, they really didn't get the message because they really didn't know how many black towns it was in Oklahoma of just black people being great.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just straight up just being great. They got bombed, they got put out, but this was Atlanta. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This was the mecca of black men wearing suits. You know what I'm saying? Looking clean, owning grocery stores, banks, and we were just making it our way. You know what I'm saying? So this is where this shit started. So we got to be proud. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to be proud of where we came from and the culture, and we got to embrace it. It's growing. It's getting bigger than ever. Man, it's something to do every single day now. There's local artist shows every day for the artists now. So it's just, man, it's great.
Right.
You know? And
we gotta be willing to like talk about each other. Like, for example, 20 years down the line, somebody could be trying to make a movie about your life, and everybody be mad if it's, a white person that, went into the archive and said, I'm gonna do this, and then they make the money off of it. But our kids and whoever is out here, y'all ain't let them know who this person was. So it's like when I think about Oklahoma City, black people, I think about Claire Looper, Ralph Ellison, Charlie Christian. After those people, it was a lot of people that did great stuff that don't nobody mention. So, we gotta, start talking about the greats in our city if we expect them to be uplifted and mentioned. Because we so secretive about the greats. We act like they're too familiar. We don't want to shed no light on them because we think that dims our light. But, we got to get out of that. Too, it should be somebody we should be talking about after Charlie Christian.
Right. Exactly. Well, just like you posted, the Nitro getting his award, that's big because Nitro put his heart and soul in this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he got hits, that he was really pushing, man. Like,
I still listen to Nitro right now.
How hard it was to just get your music out back in the day, man, to New York, and for you to be respected. Like Pimp C said, like, they didn't respect the South. They don't respect people in New York, man. So for Nitro to make it that big, yeah, he deserves that award. You know what I'm saying? And he should be bringing up the talent, seeing the talent with his eyes and bringing them up. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got his daughter and she doing her thing. But yeah, man, we should always honor the people who tried to do it, like, before us. Always. Right.
Like Lady Ace, I would kill to see a video of her rapping back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, that stuff, I mean, it was documented, but, it's not accessible to us. But that's why this is so important.
And even a Honeysickle.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying? Just, like, man, there wouldn't be no Barbie without those people. You know what I'm saying? Like the ladies always shine in OKC. Like, they always had a voice. Like, we always let them do their thing too. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
That's true. Well, thank you so much.
Your top 3 favorite guests.
Oh yeah, what's your top 3 favorite?
Oh man, my top 3. See, that's hard.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
225.
saying? Yeah, and just like, man, every story is just so different and so unique. Like, there's some days where I don't even feel like doing the podcast, but it's already scheduled. And once I do it, it's like, damn, I'm glad I did that. You know what I'm saying? So my top 3, be the first Chris McCain. You know what I'm saying? It'll be Courtney, even though she don't want to come on the podcast no more. But her
Courtney Martin.
Yeah, Courtney Martin. You know what I'm saying?
Come back on the podcast, Courtney.
Man, she don't even talk to me, but it's all good, man. But yeah, Courtney Martin. Then the third one, man, it got to be one of the DeMarcos, man, because, the guy's just so arrogant and cocky and just, he's just so relentless and just don't care what you think of him. You know what I'm saying? He lets that out. You know what I'm saying? Like, he a real Spencer Cat, right? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, it's like, so yeah, them 3, man, I just take a lot from how they broke down. You know what I'm saying? Like, just how me and Chris McCain was fussing, and then shit at the end, man, we told each other shit that we love each other. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, he know that I wasn't coming from been a bad place. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was always with love. It's just the delivery was wrong. You know what I'm saying? And that just showed how black men can still have a confrontation and still come around and disagree, and that's okay, but still talk it out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Which is what we love to see.
Black
men getting past it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in to FaceTime with Nicole Jocleen. Check out the podcast, A Shot of Brandy podcast.
Yes. I appreciate the support.
Yes, keep it going.
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate you, Jock. The GOAT.
Trying.